Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever it is in your country. You are a real deal. And what we're going to do today is going to continue where we left out with YSL Hearing Continues. If lyrics can be used in Young Thug trial, his own lyrics and everybody else's. Okay, we're going to continue from here. He don't like to read. He don't even. He ain't really been let his lawyer read. You know what? My opinion. When you somewhere in peace of mind and incarcerated or put up somewhere, you start gaining weight, you start looking better, and everything, your skin clears up, you look like a whole brand new person. So all of them don't gain weight, they eating right, they taking care of themselves. But when they was on the streets, it looked like they did what they had to do to keep going. All of them look real nice looking guys. For those who just joining us, YSL hearing continues today. Whether or not they're going to use their lyrics as evidence. I don't think that's a good idea because when you rap, you just be talking junk. Young Thug, he reading this stuff. He the leader. He reading this stuff while they playing. They need to be reading. He ain't paying none of them dudes in there no attention. I'm gonna skip it a little bit, y'all, because I got to go to work. Um, it about to start. Shit, your mouth.
I'll note that there'll be a continuing objection as to those. Mr. Carlson, could you and Mr. Floyd prepare a suitable order for my signature if you would float that to your colleagues across the way? And
well, Mr. Floyd, I object to Your Honor. May I inquire of the court's one scheduling matter?
yeah, sure.
We have Mr. Floyd's unavailable next week, so could we get his order to you by, say, the 22nd, that Wednesday before Thanksgiving? We would be prepared to even work.
You'd be the only person here then, okay?
Right.
I don't plan on being here that day. Can you get it done by the 20th, sir? 20th or 21st?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Mr. Floyd signaling it.
Okay, Mr. Floyd, what date for you, sir? Will work? 20th?
I'll make it 20th.
Okay, all right. So that order just needs to be circulated and filed for our consideration by the 20th, okay? All right.
Understood, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. Even if I tell you no, you're still going to ask it anyways, Mr. Steele, so go right ahead anyway. No, go ahead, sir. What did you want to ask me? Good morning, sir.
I asked the court, but it's also asking Carlson, Mr. Floyd, you needed not to include the exact lyrics that you had in States 18 in the order, just so it's for the ease of us later to use.
Yes, that would be appropriate, Mr. Floyd. Because I want to make sure I got those, and I believe that there are 17 sets or 17 lyrics that are applicable between pages 41 through 49. Those are the ones that I'm going to preliminarily admit.
Understood, Your Honor. And we plan on being specific in the order.
Okay, all right.
And Your Honor, just for clarification of the record, as to the opinion evidence, it's 704B is the what was signed.
Yes, sir. Yes. Okay. All right, gentlemen, unless there's anything else that pertains to this particular, and ladies, and this particular motion, I'm going to move on to some other things. Christina, let me make sure I've got everything here. D3 was rap on trial, Miss Weaver. Yeah, so I believe we have. Do you have a copy of that up here? Okay, you do. Okay, all right. Okay, all right. Then we can turn to this point in time, Miss Hilton and Miss Love, to the motions. In terms of firearms and Mr. Bernini and the other scientists you have today.
Okay.
Manny, come on this side.
This is coming in. Mr. Floyd,
Certainly, Miss. Unless you have any other business.
Move now, because I got to go get up.
Okay.
Can develop a relationship with, we'll conduct training with them as often as we can.
And have you dedicated to provide training to others in the area of cellular analysis?
I have. I'm part of CAS training cadre. So I've taught the basic course, which is our introduction course. It's a 2-day course that we teach to law enforcement, and that is, what records are available, how to obtain records via search warrant and other means, and then how to read those records and map those records so that you can, determine the location of the device in a general area. So I've taught that, I think 13 or 14 different times in 8 different states. I've also taught at our advanced course, the CAST advanced course, which is the next level up. That's a 4-day training for folks that continue within our CAST certification. I've also conducted training at International Homicide Investigators course. I've also been a guest speaker on CAST and cellular analysis in London, England. And I've done some CAST work as well in Mexico, Ukraine, and Korea.
If you would tell the court, Rick, what is historical cell detail analysis?
Yeah, so by law, all the service providers have to keep track of every mobile device on their network. And they use what's called call detail records, or CDRs for short. Think of the CDR as like your old school phone bill when we used to get like a paper copy of that, right? It would have our number, the other number associated with our call or text, the date and time, the duration in seconds, be it a 30-second or 60-second call. But then there's also information relevant to the providers and to law enforcement, and that is the cell phone tower and sector or side of the tower that's used for each of those calls, texts, or data sessions. In addition to the call detail list, the providers also have to keep track of all cell phone.
Were you asked to analyze phone records in various incidents associated with this case? And specifically, when doing that request, were you able to conduct any cell phone analysis? How many final reports did you generate so far?
I think 3.
And then is there a draft report that's still pending?
There is.
All right. And as it relates to the 3 final reports that have been drafted or completed, did you follow the same methodology that we just discussed earlier?
Yes, ma'am. In addition to having them peer reviewed.
Yes. And were you able to, for the 3 that have a final report, were you able to, produce a report in those cases?
Yes, ma'am.
Bro, what is it? What's that you had in look up? I'm going to the house. Go in the house and lay down. Good. What is this? Where you eat? What you eat? Oh. See, that's why y'all don't supposed to eat everything I eat. Gosh.
You've taken about 4 minutes already, Mr. Matthews. Come on, let's go.
Go in the house, come. Let's see if we can get to that. Go in the house. This is easy.
Your Honor.
You may.
Thank you. I'm showing you what's been marked as, State's Exhibit 2, 3, and 4. Do you recognize Exhibit 2, 3, and 4?
I do.
And how do you recognize Exhibit 2, 3, and 4?
These are printouts of my three final analysis.
And specifically, were you asked to do an analysis in an October 12, 2020 armed robbery?
I was.
Or 2021 armed robbery, excuse me. Was that State's Exhibit number 2?
October 12th, 2021.
Yes. And then were you asked to do another analysis for an October 1st, 2020 armed robbery?
That's correct.
And then last, were you asked to do an analysis in a March 14, 2022 homicide?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And again, were you able to do an analysis based on cell phone records in the same method that we just spoke of earlier?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you able to complete a report that was peer reviewed?
Yes, 3 separate ones.
All right. At this time, for the purposes of this hearing, the state would like to tender State's Exhibit 2, 3, and 4 into evidence.
Any objection at this point in time? All right, here, states 2, 3, and 4 admitted for the purpose of this hearing.
Thank you, Your Honor. And now, were you asked to do some cell phone analysis on a homicide from January 10, 2015?
I was.
And were you provided particular records in order to conduct that analysis?
Yes, ma'am.
Currently, have you done a finalized report of that analysis?
I have not.
And why not?
Well, again, as previously discussed, in between the draft and the final version is when we discuss the time period, the locations in the report, and making sure that all relevant information needed for trial is there. But again, also to tailor it to make sure it's not too voluminous or too narrow and focused.
And in order to have that continued conversation, if there are more slides needed or less, will you use the same methodology as far as the plotting of cell phone records in order to finalize this report?
Yes, ma'am, the exact same.
And will anything change outside of maybe moving the time slides from some of the other information contained in the report?
No, ma'am.
And right now, that's a draft that has not been peer reviewed as of yet.
It has not.
But it will go to peer review.
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, may I approach? I just showed you on State's Exhibit number 5. Do you recognize it? And how do you recognize it?
Again, this is a printout of the draft analysis for a January 10th, 2015 incident I was asked to analyze.
And again, did you do the same analysis as we just previously discussed?
Yes, ma'am. Same methodology used in this report as in the 3 peer-reviewed reports.
Your Honor, this time, for the purpose of this hearing, the state would like to tender State's Exhibit number 5 into evidence.
Any objection to states 5?
No objection, it's draft.
Okay, all right. I'll admit it at this point in time for the purposes of this hearing.
Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time.
asking for Mr. Farini to be designated as any type of expert now?
I am, but I was going to wait till if there was a voir dire. But Your Honor, it's trying to say like the tender Agent Barony as an expert in historical detail analysis and cellular technology under the standard endowment.
You said it's expert in area of historical call detail what?
Detail analysis and cellular technology.
All right, thank you. Cross, anybody? All right, Mr. Steele.
Good morning, sir. Hey, good morning, sir.
Have you ever been not accepted as an expert in the field of for which the Honorable Chief Judge Glanville is thinking about deciding whether to qualify you today?
No, I do not believe so, no.
Okay. And when, on this case, did you first have contact, or your teammates, I don't know how it really works, to get involved in the analysis? And I'm really speaking, you can speak to anyone you want, but I'm really focused on the last exhibit, so I'm assuming it's exhibit 4, but I may be wrong on the number.
The draft one?
The draft one.
Yeah, 5.
Okay, thanks.
This was at the same time as all the others.
Okay.
So I don't recall a specific date of when the request came over. It's been a while. I would say probably a year, maybe. Just my recollection. I don't have the exact date.
When did you complete the draft report? Meaning in stage 5.
Well, this draft report, as it is, I believe is my second draft of this. And again, it's a process. Once I have the request, I get the records, I produce a draft. And then at that point, there's discussion to make sure with the requestor to make sure that I'm covering all of the relevant information needed for their trial or their whatever, to include locations. So that there was an initial draft put out, and then there was some discussions about maybe needing some more time, or could we look at, I think we added the trip or an additional phone trip down to Miami, or the trip that was added, the analysis was added, and then this draft was produced, and then there's some discussion ongoing as to do we have everything needed as far as the phones analyzed, the time periods, and then any key locations going on right now.
And who is the requestor in this case, if you know specifically?
Ms. Love.
Okay.
For this specific case, so the case came in together as one lump case, but then I've been speaking to Ms. Love in particular about this one.
And that goes back over a year. Is that your memory or further, or your?
Yeah, I think the initial request was over a year ago.
When was the initial draft report?
Shortly thereafter. I might have taken a month to put it together based on, how busy I was at the time. Again, I don't recall, and I don't have a date on these drafts. So
In year 2022, it sounds like the end of that year. Best estimate.
that's fair. Yes.
All right. What records specifically were you given totally to do State's Exhibit number 5, the original draft, as well as the current draft? And if they change over time, please just let us all know.
Yeah, so I was given cell phone records for a number of devices, and I can't recall off the top of my head the total number. For the whole case, meaning the 3 completed analyses and then this one. And then it was decided to break them up into different analysis. And so as far as what records were provided, we can see in my analysis there's a number of phones 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 for the draft analysis, 10 different phones. So that would be call detail records from each of those devices, tower lists associated. So anything that came back to the requester after a search warrant was served for each of these numbers at the time of the request.
I want to talk about that for a minute. Were you given what came back pursuant to a subpoena or a search warrant, court order? The provider?
Not directly to me from the provider. So it typically goes to the requester, whoever got the search warrant in that office, and then those records are sent to me afterwards.
Do you have and I don't know what the right term is, but I call it a legend or the key on whether they're using UTC time or Greenwich time, or you have all that?
Yeah, that's included in the return, but then it's also included just in our training.
Okay. You didn't provide that to the state with the draft report, did you?
The key?
Yeah.
No, that would be part of the documents that come from the provider after the search warrant. There should be like a explanation sheet, I think is what they call it.
Sure, otherwise they don't really make sense. You need their legend or whatever the key.
Right. To someone who hasn't reviewed them before, they would need the key in order to show what time zones they're in, or what columns are the towers, which ones are the sectors, things like that. Yes.
When you do you get feedback, I don't know what the right word is, but on the draft report before you send it for what you call peer review, do you ever meet with somebody like me who represents somebody who has the phone number one of the numbers you're targeting? Okay. How do we do that if that's an appropriate question for today's hearing? Just contact you.
I would imagine it's an appropriate question, but yeah, you just contact me. My information is on my CV. The best way is to email me first. I'm not in the office very often. I do a lot of travel. So if you email me, my email address, I'm pretty sure it is on here. Actually, it may not be on here. If not, you could get my email address through the attorney's office, and then email me, and we can set up a time to do a telephone review of any of the things contained in this report or in any of the reports.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. There's some records you were given that were omitted, and when I say omitted, intentionally not put on your draft report of number 5. No, any phone records?
I mean, not. So I received a bunch of phone records, and I think records for different phone numbers more than that were included on the report here. So this report was tailored to, let's just say, and I don't hold me to the exact number, let's just say I was given 25 numbers. This report counts 3, 6, 9, 10 numbers. So they may have said, hey, for this incident, we're only interested in these 10 numbers.
Okay, so you took instruction from the requester, who's a prosecutor's office,
in which phone numbers they wanted reviewed for each of the incidents.
even though you had more documentation.
I may have additional phones that might have records during this time period that weren't reviewed for this particular one.
Now, in your training and experience, I heard you talk about the fact that there are sectors. And
Yes, sir.
is that alpha, beta, gamma? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
And on your report, I noticed that you have it like in a perfect circle with perfect 60 degrees starting at the top. And I really don't know what degrees those are. I could assume, but out of the 360, split into 180 over 260, and then 60 to 120, and then the third one would be the balance. Is that how you did?
Correct. So in the United States, approximately 90, it changes a little bit, 94 to 95% of all cell phone towers in the United States are what's called 3-sectored towers. So they take the one pole and they divide that pole into 3 equal segments. And so by doing that, you take a full circle, 360 degrees divided by 3. That gives you each sector being approximately 120 degrees. Again, these are just guides to show a general area. Of course, cell phone signals doesn't end always at that 120, right? It may like
Dropping every call, I guess.
Right. It's not a hard line painted on the concrete where it says at this point you're going to this other tower or sector. But in a general methodology, we see the 120-degree sector to be the most common use. And again, sector in real life could
So what we're gonna do, we're gonna stop it right here. And that was just almost the end of that. Okay, tell me what you think.